Okay, time for take 2 of chapter 11. The first one aired out, so fingers crossed this one will work. We're talking about separating and retiring employees, so the termination aspect of the job. There can be voluntary or involuntary turnover. Both are the first one's initiated by the employees, voluntary. The involuntary is initiated by the employer. The voluntary is often when the organization would prefer to keep them. I mean, they obviously still had a job for them. Involuntary, when the employees would prefer to stay. The voluntary is when the employee retires or moves to a new opportunity, and the involuntary is a job termination. So what are the costs involved? Well, both of them have recruiting, selecting, and training replacements costs. So we've talked about that before. Turnover can be very expensive to an organization because we also, besides the fact that we have to outlay that money for those, we have lost productivity as well because a new employee is not going to be as good as an old employee. We may have lawsuits, however, with involuntary turnover, and we may have loss of talented employees, involuntary, and finally we might have workplace violence. Let's hope we don't, but it is a possibility. What was the primary reason you left a job? Was it I didn't like your boss? You didn't feel you fit with the company culture? You found better pay somewhere else? I sought more interesting or challenging work somewhere else. I was fired or laid off, or other. Could be any one of those options, depending on your experience. Employment at will. We've talked before about New York State being an employment at will doctrine state. Unless otherwise specified in a contract, the employer and the employee may end the employment relationship at any time. So I don't have to tell you I'm firing you because you're late all the time. I just have to say I don't have a job for you. But if I do say I'm firing you because you're late all the time, I have to be able to substantiate that, and that's where court cases come from. They are implied contracts. Discharge cannot, however, violate any public policy or law. Okay, psychological contract. Workers feel responsible for advancing their own careers. Loyalty toward employers is less likely. Retaining talent can be a challenge. Competition for qualified, motivated workers in the STEM, which is scientific, technology, engineering, and medical fields, is intense. Retaining these employees is especially critical to the organization's overall success. So discipline and discharge. Organizations should have standardized and systematic approach to separation. I have to make sure I treat all my employees the same way, that my disciplinary plan is the same for everybody, that I'm going to do a verbal warning, I'm going to do a written warning, maybe 2 written warnings, and suspension, and finally termination. I have to show that I treat all employees the same. So it should not be left solely to the discretion of individual managers because they may have different perspectives of it, and as an organization we have to be consistent. Should be based on the principles of laws and justice, should allow for various ways to intervene. Now this is where it pros, so let's fingers crossed. Oh, yep, we're good. Just some principles of justice there, you can read through them. Legal requirements. Wrongful discharge must not violate any implied agreement. The employer promises job security. Like I can't say to you, I'm going to have you're going to work here till retirement and then let you go because I said you had a job until retirement. That could be considered an implied contract. Action inconsistent with the company rules. May not violate public policy. Terminating an employee for refusing to do something illegal, like I'm asking you to hide funds in my organization. That's against the law. I can't do that. Discrimination. Discipline decisions must be made without regard to age, sex, race, or protected status, and we have to carefully document discipline can avoid claims of discrimination. So some legal requirements. The employee's privacy. Information gathered and used for discipline must be relevant. Privacy issues arise when employers wish to monitor for or search employees, and the employers must be prudent in who sees the information. Notification of layoffs. Sometimes termination is necessary due to economic reasons. Boy, do we know that right now. Employers require to give notice before any closing or layoff, and it's covered under the Workers Adjustment, Retraining, and Notification Act, or WARN. Kind of a good acronym, actually. Some measures for protecting employees' privacy: ensure that the information is relevant, publicize information gathering policies and consequences, request consent, before gathering information, treat the employees consistently, we said that time and time again, conduct searches discreetly, share information only with those who need it. Progressive discipline, formal discipline process, we talked about this. We want to make sure you have the verbal warning, the written warning, the letting go or the suspension. In that regard is in regards to tardiness and absenteeism, unsafe work practices, the quality of work, theft, or cyber slacking. Now, of course, theft, we can, go right to the termination, of course, but we have to go that way with everybody. The hot stove rule is a principle that says discipline should be like a hot stove. Glowing stove give warnings not to the touch. Anyone who ignores is burned. The stove has no feelings or influence in which people it burns, and the stove delivers the same burn to all, and is immediate. So here's just an example of what we've been talking about, doing the verbal warning, the written warning, the second written warning plus threat of temporary suspension, and then finally termination. It's not necessary in all instances to do all these, but you have to be consistent. So if I fire someone for stealing, I have to fire everyone for stealing. Alternate dispute resolution, an open door policy, the organization's policy of making managers available to hear complaints and conflict, works to degree that employees trust management to act. The college actually used to have an open door policy, and I kind of had a chuckle at the time because it was at 7 o'clock in the morning. There's not many professors here at 7 o'clock in the morning to take advantage of the open door policy, but I guess if you really wanted to, you would show up. Peer review, what's a peer? My equal, so another faculty member would be my peer here at the college. It's a process for resolving conflict. Panels listen to case and works and to help parties agree to a settlement. The panel is made up of representatives from the organization at the same level as the people in dispute. Mediation and arbitration, we've talked about the difference of the two. Mediation is non-binding, where arbitration is binding, but it's basically the same thing. You bring in a third party, they listen to both sides, and they try to get a decision. Now, the arbitration does come up with a decision, it's binding, we have to follow that. Okay, for employee separation, we may have EAPs or employee assistance programs. It's a referral service employees can use to seek professional treatment for emotional problems or substance abuse. Many EAPs have fully integrated into health benefits plans. Managers usually try to use the referral service for employees they suspect of needing help. You might take advantage of outplacement counseling. Discharged employees likely feel angry or confused. Organizations may provide outplacement counseling to help the employees transition from one job to another. The goal is to help employee address psychological problems caused by losing a job and help them find a new one. It's one of the most traumatic things in your life. They do these ratings all the time. The first one is the death of a spouse, but always losing a job is up there in the top 5 most stressful situations in your life. Employee engagement, degree to which the employees were fully involved in the work and the strength of commitment to the job and the company. HR professionals say that their biggest challenge today is employee retention, reducing voluntary turnover. And again, it's because of those costs of all those things we have to do just to get a new employee up to snuff as the old employee used to be. Engaged employees provide competition advantages. There's higher productivity, better customer service, lower turnover. So job withdrawal, a set of behaviors which employees try to avoid work situation physically, mentally, and emotionally, results when circumstances of the job lead to dissatisfactions. May take 3 forms: behavioral change, physical job withdrawal, or psychological job withdrawal. Personal dispositions, negative affectivity is a low level of satisfaction with all aspects of life, not just your job. Core self-evaluations, organization self-impact, job satisfaction. So you can have a set of behaviors, people in a particular job, but you can have role ambiguity, role conflict, and role overload. Military reservists who are sent overseas often experience role conflict between three roles: soldier, family member, and civilian employee. Overseas assignments often intensify role conflicts. Okay, jobs. Continuing on with job dissatisfaction. Negative for supervisors and coworkers, we might have negative behavior by managers and peers impacts the satisfaction. Conflicts between employees and employees left unaddressed can cause stress. Then we have pay and benefits. Social Security, financial security is very important. You need to know that you have enough money to survive. Pay is also an indicator of status. Pay and benefits enhance self-worth and satisfaction. So behavior change, some employees may whistleblow or file lawsuits. Physical job withdrawal, tardiness or absenteeism, requesting transfers, resigning. Psychological withdrawal, I might have a decrease in job involvement or in organizational commitment. So job satisfaction is pleasant feeling resulting from perception that the job fulfills or allows one fulfillment of one's important job values. So Serena feels that her job processing payroll checks is boring and uninteresting. Which intervention would be most appropriate to retain Serena? Communicating the company's values to her, increasing her pay, expanding her job duties, hiring more employees so she has people to interact with. Yeah, let's hire her some friends so she can have friends here. No, that's not going to be the answer. The answer is C, expand her job duties because she's bored. By giving her new job duties to do, she may find new satisfaction in the job. Okay, monitoring job satisfaction. Employers should be aware of satisfaction levels so they can make changes when employees are dissatisfied. Before they quit, let's try and make them happy. Job satisfaction surveys, as usual, measurements, systematic and ongoing program of surveys should be part of HR's strategy to monitor trends. It may come in different forms. Exit interviews, I don't know if any of you have ever done an exit interview, but a lot of companies, when you're leaving that company, will sit down, have someone from HR talk to you to provide information about retainment, like why are they leaving, what made them unhappy, would this have made them happy, and so on. There's an example of one in the office when Toby's leaving. Holly comes in for a job exit interview, so kind of interesting. So here's an example of simplified nonverbal measurement of job satisfaction. Where do you rate on this scale? So that's it for Chapter 11, and that's it for Module 3. So that means you have not only a quiz to do for homework, but you have a Module 3 test, as well as a discussion case study number 3. So make sure you get them done. Good luck.